I really want to touch on something that I know you don't talk a lot about, at least since I've been around you. But I feel like a lot of people here in Birmingham, a few that I know of, that are using you, they really like that method where they buy it for cash, and then they fix it up, they put a tenant in there, and then they refinance with you and try to pull all their cash back out. And you do all Fannie Mae loans, so you're all, it's all just kind of standard stuff that you could really get anywhere. But you are an investor savvy and investor friendly mortgage guy. Is this a strategy that you recommend to people above and beyond the normal 20% stuff?
I love the strategy.
Okay.
And I think that you're right. We don't talk about it enough. And it does need to be discussed a lot more, because that has made people small fortunes in my space. And like you talked about, I'm a Fannie Mae lender. I'm your most unconventional, conventional lender you'll ever meet in your life. And the thing about it is the conventional lender is usually focusing on your people are going to be occupying a home to live in. And people, it's amazing how many in the real estate investor world don't understand that you can get conventional loans for this. Mm-hmm. I'm still amazed at how many people thought that they still had to do conventional because it's an investor loan.
Right.
So what you're talking about is that's commonly known as deferred financing or delayed financing, meaning that the individual would have financed it, but they were in a situation where they found it best to pay cash. So when you're paying cash for a home, let's say it's you buy the home for $60,000, right? You put up your cash, you buy it for $60,000, and you got a deal on it because you're willing to pay cash,
right?
And you have a renter in it, it's fixed up, ready to rock and roll. You can clean it up, but the houses will easily appraise for $100,000. Now, this is a scenario that has happened. It's happened more than once. It appraises for $100,000. I have the capability to finance starting the day after you close. The day after you pay cash, we can start the loan at that point because you have ownership on it. Mm-hmm. I can start the day of you take ownership. When it appraises out at $100,000, I am limited by two things at that point. I'm limited by 75% of the value, which is $75,000, but the loan amount cannot exceed what you paid for it. We're not going to give you cash above what you paid for it, but we will give you up to the amount that you paid. You get 100% of that back out in that particular
scenario. As long as it's under 75% LTV.
As long as it's under 75% loan to value. And so there has been many of the investors I've worked with in the past when they purchased in the right environment and they bought right, that they were, in fact, we even have one that we've worked with together. He did this 4 times in a row, that he was able to pull out 100% of that capital, then redeploy it into another property.
So you're recycling the same money over and over how many times? With
He
with
recycled
great credit
the same $60,000 4 times. Just the last one, actually 5 times. On that 5th one, we were off by 5% on the loan to value, so he left $4,000 in the deal. Not a big deal. He bought 5 properties for $4,000
out of his pocket.
Out of his pocket. He is now one of the greatest recyclers that have ever existed on this planet. Just some people don't understand how well he recycled paper. That was one of the best recycling of paper opportunities I've ever seen. You never see a person make that kind of money off recycled paper.
So go back, if you're listening to this podcast, go back about 4 or 5 minutes and go replay the last 4 or 5 minutes 3 or 4 times and do this strategy right now while you still can. Because things could change, right?
Yeah, and that opportunity has been thinning out. We used to see that when they first came out with that option. Man, it was big. We were doing that a lot. But now a person has to really, really drill down the markets, get with somebody really good at what they do to help them find those properties. They'll pull that off. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that we have to touch on, though, is it cannot include. There are many that say, "Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this property for $40,000. I'll put $20,000 into it because then it'll be worth $100 if I fix it up." And then I can do that 75% loan to value thing. I'll get my $60,000 back out because I spent $20 on the house, and then $40 on the house and $20 on the rehab. It doesn't work that way. I'm still limited by what you paid for it.
Gotcha.
That's where a turnkey provider really plays a big, big part. In the sense that if it's a turnkey guy, many times they're doing the fix-up already. They're going to have that $20,000 in fix-up in there. They're going to sell it to you for $60,000.
Gotcha.
That's where they play a massive part in this because I can't give you money on what you spent to fix the house. I can only get you to the point of what you paid for it. Now, if you have the capability to wait for 6 months,
okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
By that time, when I reach 6 months, then it's just based on 75% of the value. What you paid for is not a factor anymore.
So it would need to season for 6 months in that scenario.
In that scenario, we season for 6 months. Or if you've got a great turnkey group that you're working with that'll do the work for you, acquire the property, do the work, sell it to you for the $60,000, then you're in good shape.